Rob Grimes with the IFPTA, and I'm really pleased today to have Brian Whitney with me, who's the Chief Revenue Officer of Tray. And they are one of our latest industry supporter partner members. So welcome to the IFPTA.
Thanks, Rob. Very happy to be here. Excited to be here and work with the whole team at IFPTA.
Well, listen, before we get started on this, because I do need to ask you about Tray's history, but you and I have actually known each other for quite a while because you have a history in the industry. And I was sort of hoping that maybe you'd give us a small snippet of that because I think it plays into our conversation today about Tray.
Yeah, so I started in point of sale when I had hair and it wasn't gray. So it's been a minute or 26 years, give or take. I started with actually a firm called Prism Tech, which became Radiant Systems, which became NCR, and I spent over 20 years there, and then I've gone from there into different aspects of the industry of cloud point of sale and digital. I actually ended up at Tray about a year ago. I had actually gone through and I'd taken another role with a great company, wonderful company, and when I got a call from the founder of Tray, and he told me the Tray story, I worked from home and I went downstairs afterwards and I told my wife immediately, I know I just started a job 2 weeks ago. I'm going to have to quit and go work for Tray. It's just that compelling. So it's been a lot of fun in the last year of seeing this company grow and expand.
After 2 weeks, because you saw an opportunity having been in the industry so long. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the history of Tray and then very specifically what it was that got you so excited about that?
Yeah, so Tray's been around for about a little over 10 years. They actually grew up in the family entertainment space of all places. And you know, when COVID hit, that just kind of collapsed it. Well, luckily it had pivoted towards full service restaurants and deploying our cloud-based point of sale in that space. But the unique part, because there's several different firms that could say that they do that, some do it better than others, but the unique part of that story is that we do it without disrupting the hardware stack. So we take our Android cloud point of sale, and we deploy it on whatever hardware you have in your store today. So we're deploying it right now on hardware that might be 5, 7, and in some cases as many as 15 years old.
Whether the hardware is Android or not.
Whether the hardware is Android or not. So
Okay.
we show up on traditional Windows PCs, touch screens that you would know from major providers, and we show up with a keyboard and a thumb drive, and 2 hours later we convert that client-server clunky site with all of its kind of befiddles that have happened over software over the years, and we move to an advanced platform without disrupting that tech stack and without causing a disruption also not just to operations but also to the capital investment that's there. So whether your hardware's a year old or 15 years old, we can give it new life, and that capability especially...
Are we serious about 15-year hardware?
Yes. It was a terminal called the NCR 7403 that we were running on in one of our locations. It was originally, if I understand that unit correctly, it was ended of sale in 2009. So the last time you could buy it was
But then there'd be 6 to 7 years of maintenance after that, and then you're done, right?
Exactly. In a traditional hardware, yes. Now, in those types of devices, those NCR or Micros units, and I was on the inside on the NCR and Radiant side, those are tanks. They are built to last forever. You've got a 100,000 hour bulb in the LCD screen. That's probably the only part that's going to fail. Everything else is solid state, non-moving. So as long as you can keep that part with power going to it and you keep it relatively clean, it's probably going to run a really long time.
Well, let's break this down a little bit because you're actually teeing up a lot of separate topics here. So let's just start at the top. So I think I heard, so it grew out of family entertainment centers, okay, FECs.
Yep.
And there's actually an association on that one, which the IFPTA has been talking with. But how does this, is that because the person who founded the company was operating family entertainment centers, felt that they needed some sort of point of sale solution here, they didn't have it, so they just developed it themselves?
See, now you're the one teeing me up great stories because Peter Kellis, who is our founder and CEO, has one of the most unique stories I've met. Peter was born in Greece. His family decided that the whole family should learn French. So they moved the whole family to France for them to go to high school. When they were in France, they decide, well, MIT is one of the best schools in the world for engineering. So the whole family goes and moves to Boston. All 3 of the kids go through MIT. They're in the Guinness Book of World Records for the highest family acceptance rate in MIT. All 3 kids go through, they graduate with perfect 5.0s. Peter gets accepted into the PhD program, and he
Is there a
decides,
5.0?
There is. If you're doing 4.0 in advanced classes, you get 5.0.
Really? That's sort of
Absolutely.
like a 6-star hotel.
Exactly. There's
Okay.
one of those. So they get their 5.0s. Peter's accepted in, and he decides he's an entrepreneur. He wants to go down the tech stack entrepreneur route. So he works for Dell, he works for SMC, he works for Google. He develops 35 patents. And he's actually out one night in a bar in Santa Monica, and he has a hard time ordering a beer. And so he develops an app.
Is MIT in Santa Monica?
Nope, he's moved to the West Coast to work for Google.
Okay, so we missed that little part.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
he's
got
with Google.
SMC,
Okay, so
Google,
we got it.
right?
All right, so now he's on the West
He's
Coast.
developing his patents, and he's working with large data storage, and he's building an advanced advertising analytics engine for Google that they now have sold and made billions of dollars with. But he's out there and he can't get a beer. He's like, this is silly. And he builds an app, as people were doing back in those days. The app became kind of a waiver system. So when you go into a family entertainment center, you have to sign away that if my
Wait,
kid...
did he have a customer for the app, or he just built the app and then he went and found the customer?
He had customers that were saying, I like this, can you do that? Can you use it to do this?
Okay.
So we adapted it, and then it became kind of the leading system in those family entertainment centers, and we're still in many of them today, where we're doing...
So he didn't own a family entertainment center, he just liked to drink and bowl or something like that?
Well, he found an opportunity that had a need. And that same thing happened as he was very successful in the family entertainment space. And then he started to see, okay, this technology of cloud-based, enterprise-grade, multi-site capable solutions, there's not an equivalent platform, an equal platform in the hospitality space focused on full service dining. There's several that focus on quick service, but there's not one that handles the real complexities of full service dining, whether that's tipping, coursing, splitting, all
right,
of
so
those
hang on a second. So what year is this?
This would have been 2020 that we pivoted to restaurants.
Okay, so that's not that far back. So
Nope.
I'm sure that there are some people who might argue this point about full service restaurants and technology. So again, where would the points of differentiation be there? You know, you're talking about cloud-based, you're talking about, you know, and the industry had to be ready for it, because without the connectivity, which by the way will bring me back to the question of 15-year-old hardware, but without the technology to have the connectivity that was reliable, so by 2020, that technology had come along far enough to...
Yes and no, because you still have stores that are out in the middle of nowhere that have limited connectivity. What you have to build is you have to build a technology that adapts to the capabilities and not necessarily have the capabilities adapt to the technology. I think there's a lot of solutions on the marketplace today that they've had client server-based systems that they've tried to move elements to the cloud, and it requires almost as big of a pipe to go from the cloud to the store as it went from the server to the point of sale, traditionally inside the store. And that breeds a lot of kind of issues, whether those are data mismatch issues, whether those are offline errors that plague this industry. And especially when you're dealing with checks that have to be open, closed, stored, reopened, and closed, you can't have that latency. Tray, at its beginning, worked in an environment that was challenged from a networking.
Well, he certainly understood if he was working for Google. I mean, he certainly understood how to give immediate information, connectivity, you know, how to search and find. So, I mean, he actually had that in his background. In his
DNA. And he brought that business DNA to bear at Tray. And, you know, with our capabilities, what we're able to do with that technology is, you know, our network minimums are 500 kilobits, which is basically a little bit better than the AOL modem that I had when I first started 26 years ago. So as long as you've got AOL connection speeds, we can provide a stable, reliable platform. And in the few cases where the internet does have an issue, Tray, because it built in this family entertainment spaces, we had to have an automatic offline mode. And so we've carried that through. So even if you're offline, we've got a proprietary network inside of the store that's rerouting all of the orders to all of the stations. So there's no master slave or primary terminal you've got to fail to.
Right.
There's no process. We're just automatically going to send orders back to the kitchen and pick them back up at any point of sale terminal.
So does the word tray mean anything in this?
It's meant to be kind of the concept of we're on a silver platter. It's
okay, well, I mean, I picture a tray, a server
exactly
tray, but has it always been called Tray, even when it's Family Entertainment Center?
It's always been called Tray.
So sort of forward thinking, when you're doing a Family Entertainment Center, you're not thinking about the full service piece, per se.
Yeah.
You know, but Okay.
It started because remember it started as an app in a bar. So the bar server Trey was what initially started it, and then Trey became a misnomer in the family entertainment space. Came back to its rightfully named place in hospitality.
I want to thank you for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure to have Brian Whitney, the Chief Revenue Officer of Trey, join us today as the newest industry supporter partner member. And welcome to the IFBTA, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Rob. It's been a pleasure.